Welcome to the Real Talk with Missy and Fabio.
The honest side of real estate with all you must know to survive in this market.
Hello, everyone. Today we have our new podcast, and we're going to give you a lot of information and share with you a lot of information as a lawyer in real estate. But we're going to talk about a lot of stuff.
Right.
Yeah. So
but today our guest is Melissa Huntley-Bosco. She's a new attorney here in town, and we're just super happy to have her because I feel like she's going to kind of wrap her arms around this small guy in town and take good care of all of us. So if you're a returning viewer, welcome back. And if you're new, we would love for you to subscribe and show up each time for us. We really appreciate it. Ring the bell, and it really helps us bring our content about Fredericksburg, Virginia, to anybody who's in search of it. So welcome Melissa.
Melissa.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you for her service.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we'll
I read
kind of
that.
maybe let you tell a little bit about your start and where you came from, and welcome.
All right, thank you. So
And she's so organized. Look, she's got her paper.
Oh, she's a lawyer. She's a lawyer.
She's ready to take notes. So good job.
So I've lived in Virginia since 2005. I was stationed here with the Army up at Fort Belvoir.
Okay.
Before that, I was at Fort Bragg, North Carolina,
Ooh,
jumping out
hot
of planes
spot.
for a good little bit there.
Did you really jump?
Yes.
You didn't push other people.
I was a jumper and a jump master.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
what I thought.
So I put everybody out. I have 88 jumps.
How are your ankles?
Ouch. Don't ask me that. More like my knees crunch when I walk upstairs. So
Wow. Wow. That's
So-
huge. So when you jump and how's that? How was your first jump? Was it like crazy? Was it
I don't
scary?
know. So, you kind of joke that all of your jumps are at night because your eyes are closed.
Oh,
And you're screaming on your way up?
No screaming.
you can now scream, I guess.
Wow.
So, it was good. It's like if you've seen Band of Brothers, except the Germans weren't shooting at us.
No, thank goodness. Wow.
So, I came to Virginia in 2005. I was still active duty Army. And then life events happened that I decided to leave active duty in 2015 and went to law school. Concurrently joining with the Virginia National Guard. I'm still with the Guard. I'm now a judge advocate with the Virginia National Guard, just recently returning from Kosovo for my second deployment with the Guard in 3 years.
So when you go on your deployment, are you acting as a JAG then?
I am.
Oh, okay.
I am. So this last deployment, I was the operational law attorney and legal assistance.
Okay.
So think operational law, rules of engagement, and advising young soldiers, like, be cautious when you're dealing with local populations. We're not in a hostile environment, that sort of thing. So
Why be a lawyer? Do you have that passion before you joined the Army, or that was game?
I really enjoy process and helping people and being organized, and always been super analytical. I did logistics in the Army for 20 years prior to becoming a judge advocate. So for me, it was about getting people what they needed so they could do what they do. And I kind of reached a point in my career on the logistics side where I was like, I want to do something else for the Army, and I took in what I did in the legal field and was like, all right, now I'm a JAG. But on the civilian side on law, I enjoyed transactional work, but I'm not afraid of litigation.
Yes!
So I'm not, I've talked with other attorneys in the area who refuse, I can't touch landlord-tenant, it's scary evicting someone. I'm like, it's not if you follow process,
Right.
And being organized and talking to landlords.
If you know the process.
If you know the process and you understand
That
it.
helps a little bit.
Prior to deploying, I worked for a small law firm in Richmond that I handled a lot of the litigation side of things for their real estate.
Okay.
They did closings and all that, and I handled that. So it was a lot of people saying, you can't evict people in COVID. I'm like, you can. You
It's a
follow
process.
There's something you have to do along the way. And, quite frankly, for people who say, I can't pay rent, there's programs in place to help them. It wasn't like I was just like, all right, you family of 4, get out on the street. It was,
Right.
I have no qualms about the people I got evicted because they were not great people for those
Yeah.
homeowners.
Well, the
you
sad
know?
thing is the person who owns the house still has to make the mortgage payment.
Exactly.
Those are the people who should have been helped out with our government in some manner or form, especially if they were not receiving their rent. So what a bad place that left a lot of people in.
But I believe at the same time you have to educate the landlord.
Yes.
Because
so they have obligations as
because
well.
it happens to me, one of my clients that I recommended a lawyer, and I said you have to go step by step. But she was really, she said no, they don't know about that, and she decided to go to the house. So the people decided to call the police, and she have to be out of the area, you know.
Yep.
And then she was worrying about because they didn't pay the rent, and I said, well, you have to just let it go, just wait for the lawyer. You know, the lawyer trying to make a negotiation and say, hey, you're gonna maybe you're gonna lose that money. But what do you want? You know, I don't know if it was the right call, you know, but I say, hey, this is not my job. I'm just trying to help you, but, you know, if you don't let me allow to help you, there's no way. I have to walk away.
And especially when you have a homeowner who is also managing the property, a lot of people get
Yes.
very emotionally invested in it. And so I've always recommended, like, I understand that this was your home and now you're going to rent it out. Get a property manager.
Absolutely.
Get someone who can do this for you and take that burden off of you. And who knows, all right, this is a point where I need to call the lawyer and get this taken
Well,
care
the
of.
property manager knows that I have to do this in 30 days and I have to do this then I have to go to the court and file this. I mean, to me, everybody's like, oh, I don't want to pay 10% for a property management. Well, add it to your rent, you know, and then this person will be a third party that is not emotionally involved, that knows the process. But you have to have a good property manager. We have property managers here that don't even live here. They manage maybe from North Carolina or somewhere, which how in the world can you manage from North Carolina when you're not even here to come see the property or something? So it's a huge decision to make, and you need to. We actually just interviewed a property manager last week, and he was amazing. So we're hoping to be able to put more people together with them, but that's a huge part.
It is. It absolutely is. And then the other part of homeownership in real estate is, I'm sure you are very well aware of this, but Virginia is a caveat emptor state, and what that means is
Cover your own.
Yep, you buy it as is, you know, and that's what it is. And I've had one case where the new owner was able to recover, but it had to do with there was a straight up lie in the contract. The contract said, "Oh, this is connected to city water," when in fact it was well water.
Oh dear.
Oh.
And
So it wasn't a lie. It was not done.
well, it was
the contract was
the
not
contract
written.
was not.
Correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
they checked the box saying, "Hey, this is hooked up to city water." They get into
This
the
is what I'm
house, and this
saying.
is
You're going to
well.
be so busy
So-
for these
so what-
next
And then
3 years.
I sent a letter to the previous owner and I said, here's, because they did an estimate, it was, you know, maybe $15,000, and I said, here's the deal, you can pay this to hook them up to city, or we're going to go to court. And he paid the money.
Oh, okay.
And I mean,
Love
the
it.
cost to the homeowner for them to engage me was $500 to sit there and save having to fight
heck
something
yes.
at that. A demand letter from a lawyer will.
Wake
I've had-
everybody up.
Yes, very much so. He's like, hey, yeah, I will get this
I don't want to have a
fixed.
letter for a lawyer.
No, but I'm just saying that.
Yeah,
when
no,
you
that's
get
what I'm
that
talking
letter
about. Yes,
with the
yes,
heading
yes.
on it, it's like a reality check. Quit being a poopy person and do what you should have
And
done in
fix
the
it.
first place.
Yep.
So
And that's exactly
I'm so
it.
excited to have you on our
Yeah. So give me another example of something like that with real estate that you can see like it's happened to you.
So HOA disputes. So there was a neighborhood where you had one HOA and another one, and my client's property was right on the border of the other HOA. Well, they had a tree that was coming down that if it had come down would have damaged his property. Well, there's Virginia laws about that. There's case law about that, and they were not responding to him at all. And like he sent me pictures, and I was like, yeah, that tree, like I'm no arborist, but that tree's definitely going to come down in your yard, the next one. And so I went through research case law, sent the HOA a letter, and a week later they had someone out to take care of it.
wow.
You know,
so the
so-
other thing too, like we've always talked about with title work, in reference to trees and fences and all that mess. If you don't have a survey, I mean, the survey is huge to have done when you buy the property. If there's not a pre-existing one, if there is a pre-existing one, I always try to get it. and then have it put in the title work. Because how does your title insurance insure you if you don't have any resource to show where your boundaries are? It's huge, and people are like, oh, I don't want to spend $600, or really for acreage it's more expensive. But is it really going to be more expensive for you in the long run if you don't have insurance coverage, title insurance coverage? So huge.
Let me ask you a question, because I have
Okay.
Let's say you live in a neighborhood, they don't have HOA, but they have regulation.
Okay.
So
What's that?
What
What's
kind
it
of
mean?
what?
well, it was like you couldn't have like a rooster. And,
Oh,
and
that's
that,
a city.
yeah,
thing.
it's in the
Okay.
city. Well,
Okay.
it was it was close to here.
Okay.
So the regulator went to the house and say you have to get rid of the rooster because we don't have HOA, but the regulations say that.
Yeah, city code.
Yeah.
If that's what the city code is, you have to follow what it
Okay.
is.
She'll
There's
write
not.
another letter.
There's
Send
not.
it to
The other property consideration you want to look at are easements. So another case
Yes.
I had was the property was along the water line. They had an easement through their neighbor's property, but it didn't reflect what was reality. The easement was maybe 100 feet up of where it should be, so it wasn't surveyed where it should have been.
Wow.
They went to go sell the property, and they had issues with that because then the neighbor was a little contentious, and he's like, well, I want permission from the new owner to be able to go down to the water through this path, and like, that's not part of the easement. Well, I'm not going to let you use it. You can't use this driveway then. And I'm like, well, what we can do is go ahead and plow through your fence and put in the driveway where it says it is on the survey and what the deed says. So we can either modify this and you can sign off on it, or we'll start getting
So
bulldozers
is the
out there.
easement to get to the next
Yes.
lot?
Next lot.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
interesting. So
Yes.
how do you, shouldn't title see that on the
Should.
title work? Okay. So title insurance, the title company should have helped with that too.
They did.
Okay.
They did at the end. They ended up settling, and everybody was all calm. And at the end of it, I had started the litigation because they did not want to cooperate, and then my firm finally closed it out recently, and the house was finally able to sell, and everybody was happy. But that's one of the things. Like, look at easements. How do you get to your property? It's hard to sit there and get, besides just adverse possession, but easement by prescription and things of that nature, because
Well, shared drives are kind of, and there's a house, there was a property down in Tappahannock area. They had the septic and the drain field. It wasn't even on the property. So I was like, wow. I said, do y'all share this? Is this a, combined septic, community septic? No, ma'am, that's our drain field. I'm like, it's on the other side of the road, and it doesn't look like, and yeah, it was ugly.
yeah,
It was really ugly.
and then you're going to sell his property, and next thing you know, I mean, they went back.
Well, the drain field was on somebody else's property, so really, how
That's an
could you get
issue.
a loan?
yeah, there's no way.
To get a loan for that property with the drain field that someone else owns, basically. But it was probably like a
single
family's-
property,
It was,
and then
yeah, and then they
divided up.
subdivided it, but they felt like, oh, we'll just leave it. So
We're not going to spend those few bucks.
no.
And you see a lot of that in the area because, you talk to people who've lived in Fredericksburg for 30, 40, 50 years. And I have a client who said, oh, yeah, remember they used to have a pants factory downtown.
Yes,
And
that's a beautiful
and
building.
her husband, said, why would she know that? That was like 50 years ago. And I was like, I'm in my 40s, but I'm sorry, I don't remember your pants factory. So...
Well, what about things that are in the city? What would be something that people would look for? I mean, I see sometimes the underground storage tanks, they were the original oil tank or the oil burner tank, and they have patios built over them. Or, you see the little nozzle sticking up. Is it closed out properly? Is it leaking? It becomes an EPA thing then, too. If they bring it up and there's oil in that soil, that goes ugly.
that goes back.
Goes ugly really bad.
Yeah, those fines are, last I checked, were like $25,000.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah, they're
Because they
expensive.
didn't close it out properly. But how many transactions back or owners back did that happen?
Happens,
How are they going to go back and trace it? But it's just, I had a property that they were going to dig it up, but then they decided not to dig it up. They were going to close it, close it properly, fill it with foam or whatever it was. But then the soil sample dude who came out to close it, there was oil in the soil. It was ugly.
Mm-hmm.
Really
That's
ugly.
I've got to look up. I can't tell you everything, but if I don't have an answer for you,
I would look for this town for sure, because there are so many that have not been closed out properly. The people still live there, have lived there forever, their families kind of deal. So if it ever has to transfer, it's going to float to the top.
It will.
Literally.
Yeah. That's how oil does.
Yes.
You know, social media, you have so many people that are now giving advice and stuff like that. You don't know if they're really true or whatever, but they always say, like, never have anything on your name.
In your name.
In your name.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Yeah.
So I know that, but I just want you to, you know, we were talking about the trust. So it's a lot
so
of
we
people.
were having a discussion about trust, and here's what I have to say about, you know, I also do estate planning, so wills and trust, and here's 3 reasons why you may want to trust. And one is, like, you really, really value privacy. When your will goes to probate, it becomes part of public record. Anybody can go and pull it. I can go out to wherever Elvis Presley's will was probated, and all I have to do is pay the copy fee. Same with like Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis. You can just sit there and pay the court fee to make a copy of their will. So if you really don't want anybody to see what you have, do a trust. The other thing is, if you have children, adult children who are not responsible. Some people who don't, like, hey, I've worked really hard for this money. I really don't want my child to go blow this on vaping or whatever it is people do, Bitcoin. Not putting that down, I'm just saying, you know. And then the third reason is if you have out-of-state property. So, for example, a lot of people might have Outer Banks property and things like that. So if you have a will that is created in Virginia and also needs, and you're just going to say, yep, put it through probate, you need to make sure your will is in compliance with North Carolina law, because property is law situs. North Carolina law will dictate whether or not, hey, yes, it's valid in Virginia, but also valid in North Carolina. So, for example, Virginia allows holographic wills, and that's not when.
What is a holographic will?
So it's not when, as my husband says.
It's a ghosty thing?
Yeah, that's not when Princess Leia asked Obi-Wan Kenobi for help. That's what my husband says. So a holographic will is just a handwritten will. You know, that says that this is my last will and testament. This is what it is, and boom. Not all states accept that. North Carolina may not. So if you write a holographic will, I leave my property to my friend Bob. Right? North Carolina says that's not a valid will, and then goes intestate. So now your property you want to give to Bob, that's North Carolina, may go and, you know, to your children, someone who you don't want it to. So one of the things with trust, once that property is in the trust name, the trust governs how it happens. So that is another reason, you know, to put your property into trust.
So this is a big deal for us. I feel it's huge for all of our closings. I think that it's just something they need to visit with an attorney and figure out what their options are, or cover their butt when they don't know what they need to do. It's important to have that information. So it's a big deal. I love it.
It is. It's you know, it's a great way to avoid probate. Virginia does not have a state tax. Vast majority of people are not going to be subject to the federal estate and gift tax, which is, like, I think for 2023, some $20-something million for a couple.
Wow.
So I wish we all could be subject to it. However, we're not. I know I'm not. But it's something where if you're looking, say, hey, I don't want my personal representative to have to go through probate, do a trust.
How about for we have a lot of military clients, obviously. So what's kind of a couple things that heads up for them? They own a piece of land in North Carolina, maybe something in California, and something here. What do they need to be aware of?
One, if they are military, they can always go talk to their judge advocates. And if their judge advocate does not know, they generally have a very good network of how to do that. So that's somewhere that they have, you know, basically free legal service. JAGs cannot do business type transactions, though. So if you have an LLC, not going to do that. Some considerations, again, property manager, if you're going to rent it out. And again, what's going to happen when you go overseas, who's going to take care of it, those sort of things.
Yes.
And then
Looking at that.
power
That's
of
a peace of
attorneys.
mind.
Durable power of attorney. So when I do like a wills package, it's, you know, a will, a durable or springy power of attorney, and then a healthcare directive. Like what happens if I get in a car accident sort of thing. Who is your healthcare agent?
So there's a couple of different power attorneys, right? There's one, I know for real estate, you have to have a different power attorney than what you do.
Yeah, so when I was in Kosovo, we'd have people who'd say, "Hey, we're refinancing my house. Can you do a power of attorney for me?" And I said, "Go get what your mortgage company wants." I have had to do a power of attorney, you know, signed for my husband's name. The mortgage company will provide it and say, "Hey, this is the language we want."
Perfect.
So they say,
huge.
"Hey, this is exactly what we want." We would notarize it for them. They could send it off and be
Because a
done.
lot of people say, "Oh, I have a power of attorney." All of us have had a power of attorney at one point or another, but you cannot transfer or close a real estate transaction with that general
yes.
power of attorney.
Your mortgage company is going to have, no, we want this very specific. They will provide it.
Right.
I say that as I've had to do it like twice,
Yep,
just
yep.
from personal experience.
So are they still calling and verifying the soldier is still alive or what? I know for a little while there, we would be sitting at the settlement table or ready to close in the afternoon, and they would have to get a hold of the command overseas, which was lovely. It kind of
Time
delayed
difference,
things just
yes.
a little bit.
Yeah,
So
could be.
But did they still do that?
We've had soldiers that the command will do a memorandum saying, yes, they're a member of good standing with the Virginia Guard or U.S.
Okay,
Army or things
okay.
like that. And that's handled through the HR, Human Resources channels. They will do that and say, yep, this person's still in. They have all those protections.
I would love for you to just kind of do a little outline of things as a spouse or a military dependent. These are things you might want to think about, you know, or maybe have in place, or where is this document just in case if you need it, you know, even upon transfer. I mean, my parents moved, I don't know how many times. So I don't know, like when I was asked for some sort of verification, please write down all your addresses from this state to this state. I'm like, I have no idea. I mean, and my mom, she goes, "Oh my God, we moved 18 times." I'm like, because my dad was Army too. So it was like every 18 months he may have been transferred, you know. So those are just things I think if we learn historically as a new military wife, you know, just start a folder and throw it in there. You may not have to have it all on one piece of paper and organized, but slip it in there. So when you are asked, those documents can be found in one place.
Yeah,
Instead of everywhere.
Absolutely, yes.
So.
A binder. I'm a big proponent of like the binder with the tabs and all that, and say, all right, here's the kids, you know, copies of birth certificates and passports. And
So are you the
all
same
this
way
stuff.
in your house too, with
Look at
everybody, with the rules and everything like that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Mm.
So
This is
when
good.
you know when
So your
when
husband
clients-
is in the army too?
he retired in
Oh,
2012.
okay, so that's good.
So yeah, that's the only way we can probably tolerate each other.
I love it. I love it. So, leaving this recording, then to just tell everybody really who you are, where your office is, and then the things that you can do to keep sanity in everybody's world. What's
Okay.
your job?
My name is Melissa Huntley-Bosco. I am a sole proprietor for HB Law PLC. I work exclusively remote from home. I love to go meet clients where they are comfortable and super flexible in that way. Primarily dealing with business law and real estate, as we talk about, and estate planning. But I'm not afraid to litigate and go to court when needed.
So, earnest money.
Yeah.
One last thing I want to add.
No, but we have to talk about her horses. That
No,
she
her
love, I mean, that she used to ride horses.
That's your hobby. Those are your hobbies.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
so yeah,
we
we'll
have two
talk a little
beautiful
bit
young
soon.
men, obviously.
And the other one that is very amazing. Oh yeah.
On the personal, I have two sons. They're 9 and 11. My youngest turns 10 soon, and I joke that they're good military babies because they're both born on the 1st.
No.
And it's
Good tax deductions.
for military people or for non-military folks. That's important because we get paid on the 1st.
There you
so
go.
that's both born at Fort Belvoir. My husband's retired. He works defense industry, business development, all that type of fun stuff. And for hobbies, I enjoy crocheting, which I just like. So
It's kind of therapeutic.
It is. You know, some of just like it's so much of what I create is intangible. You know, so it's nice to have a tangible product. We're like, here, this is what I have.
Oh, I love that.
So yeah, and then I enjoy riding horses. I've not gotten back into it, but I used to ride a whole bunch of Fort Bragg and then some up here, and Since I came back in November, it's just been too busy. But
Do you write English then?
Yes.
I can see you writing English.
Hunt seat. I would love to get into hunting. We don't really fox hunt, but
they have big.
I know. I need to get into it. Mm-hmm. I really enjoy it. And then for whatever reason, I have decided to start learning the violin. I started lessons in December. I am not any good. So maybe in 5 years when, they're like, hey, we want to bring you back. I can bring my violin then. But wait.
I was trying to learn like a guitar a long time ago, but my fingers say, stop it. So,
I've had to completely learn how to recount. I thought I knew how to count. I did not know how to count.
I love it.
God, work us so much. I mean, thank you so much for all your information, because it's been very, very helpful for everybody,
Mm-hmm.
And it's good, like you said, that it's good that to have you in our work, because now I can call you and say, hey, listen, we have a problem. I don't want to call you to say that, but but
I want to fight over earnest money with her.
Oh yeah, you said that. Yeah,
that's just like the hardest thing right now. Mm-hmm. And everybody thinks that there's you can make your own rules up. Well, no, you got to go back and read the contract. It's simple. It's all right there. It's in black and white. So
yeah, very much.
It's been very interesting these last couple years. It's been wild, wild west.
Yeah.
So that's why I said earlier, it's such a fabulous time for you to come into this, because there's going to be a lot of stuff coming up that people just threw baby under the bus for the last 3 years to win a deal, and people are in homes and they're not happy, or they feel like they didn't get the right representation, or maybe they didn't do a home inspection, but it's their fault in a way, but yet I think they weren't given proper guidance a lot of times. So, yay, it's Melissa.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been great.
We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, y'all. If you have any questions for Melissa, we'll put her information there for you also, so you can reach out directly to her. But any comments or questions, we will answer as soon as we can. And please subscribe. We would love to have you in our world always. Thank you.
See you soon, guys. So glad you joined us today.
Please message us on Facebook, and Fabio and I will respond to all your questions as soon as possible.
Find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast,
or anywhere you listen to your podcast.